The author and commentator Ali Shahabi joins me now from Miami, and thanks for doing so. This all follows the China brokered deal in Beijing last month. You had Iran and Saudi officials holding these first talks for the first time, I think, since 2016. That handshake in Beijing on Thursday. I don't know if you thought it was a little awkward or not, but it was a handshake. What was the significance of the imagery and the talks themselves?
Well, the significance is that really that handshake took place in Beijing. There have been previous handshakes with the Iranians and previous deals in the past 20 years that the Iranians have not upheld. So the fact that China brought its involvement and prestige and was a co-signatory to the tripartite agreement between Saudi Arabia and Iran gives it the special significance that differentiates it from previous deals that had been done with the Iranian government. And I think that is the Saudis' confidence.
Okay, now given the competing priorities in the region, I mean, some pretty obvious ones. They support opposite sides of the conflict in Yemen. They support rival factions in Lebanon and so on. Given all of that, where do you think meaningful common ground might exist from all of this?
Well, I think primarily Saudi Arabia is looking at Yemen, which is strategically its priority. The negotiations with the Yemeni parties to end the civil war are really progressing very, very well. And I think Saudi Arabia's objective is to make sure that Iran does not become a spoiler to this agreement. And so this agreement in Beijing gives Saudi Arabia a lot of comfort that Iran will be supportive rather than a negative force in Yemen going forward. Time will tell, of course, but it's China's involvement that gives this whole agreement its special weight.
Saudi Arabia, of course, is a Western ally. Iran very much not. How might this rapprochement play out in terms of dynamics with the West? Does it signal a loss of influence for the US, for example?
To a certain extent, it does a little bit. I mean, what Saudi Arabia is doing is it is complementing its close relationships with America and the West with a very close strategic relationship with China. And, you know, after Saudi oil fields were attacked in 2019 by the Iranians, and when there was a really no response from the United States, the deterrent impact of America was punctured towards Iran, really, in the Gulf. And so Saudi Arabia reached out. There were different ways Saudi Arabia could have responded. It could have responded militarily, but it decided to respond politically and to complement its, if you want, U.S. alliance with a political alliance with China, whereby China brings its politics and economic weight to bear on Iran to impact Iranian behavior. And that is really what is underpinning this whole exercise.
What about China? What do you think China wants to get from having forged this relationship? It inserted itself, if you like, as a broker in the region.
Well, you know, China imports the majority of its oil, really. I mean, well, 40% of its oil comes from the Gulf, the Persian Gulf or Arabian Gulf. So China has a huge vested interest in stability in the Gulf. So it makes a lot of sense for China to be heavily involved in ensuring that stability. Now, obviously, America benefits from that stability, and the West and the global economy does also. So everybody's a winner here. But China is the primary power that gets its oil from the Gulf at the moment. So it has a huge vested interest in Gulf stability. And this agreement is working towards that stability.
So how then would you see relations playing out in the months ahead in a geopolitical sense, not just from Saudi's perspective, but Iran? What are they going to want to see from this?
Well, I think Iran has been very interested in reopening diplomatic relations with Saudi Arabia, in having easier access to pilgrimage for its population, opening up embassies, opening up consulates. Iran is stressed economically also. So it wants to open up, economic channels that might bring foreign investment into Iran. So Iran can be a great beneficiary. Saudi Arabia is a status quo power, and Iran has been a revolutionary power, exporting its revolution all around the region. And hopefully, this agreement may be a first step in making Iran look more inward at developing its own economy rather than disrupting the politics and economics of its neighbors.
Certainly a change in power dynamics all round China, the US, Iran, Saudi Arabia. Ali Shahabi, thank you so much. Really appreciate your expertise.
Pleasure, Michael. Thank you.